Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, sometimes the best learning happens when you mix epic adventure with a really focused lesson.
Definitely.
And today we're doing just that. It's a unique trip blending earth science, adventure travel, and a really targeted B2 English practice.
Yeah, our sources are pretty amazing today. We're going from these huge moving sand dunes near Peru's Huacachina oasis
Incredible place.
all the way to the blindingly bright salt flats in Bolivia, the Salar de Uyuni.
So quite the contrast.
Absolutely. And our mission here is to sort of give you the inside track. We're unpacking the science, the mechanics behind those massive migrating dunes.
Right.
And at the same time, we're reviewing some really key B2 English stuff, grammar, phrasal verbs, functional language. A lot of this actually comes from Zara, the English teacher, and her own travels in these pretty tough places.
Okay, so let's start right there. At the Huacachina oasis, Alex, one of the travelers, called it absolutely stunning.
You can picture it, right? These giant sand mountains just circling a surprisingly green little pool.
Yeah, it's unexpected. But then you see there's massive dunes and you start wondering, Alex said it was a real head scratcher. How do they even form? And how do they stay so huge right there?
It seems like a puzzle, doesn't it? But the science, it's actually pretty straightforward once you break it down, even though the scale is just immense.
Yeah.
Zara put it really well. She said, to put it simply, you basically need three key things working together for a dune to form.
3 ingredients. Okay, let's break that down. What's number 1? The foundation.
Right. First off, you need sand.
Ew.
And not just a little bit. You need a solid supply of loose sand. Ample,
Okay, a solid supply. Where does Huacachina get that from?
Well, conveniently, the Pacific coast isn't far away. So that provides the raw material.
Got it. Coast delivers the sand. What's ingredient number 2?
Wind. You need constant, strong wind, and crucially, blowing mostly in one main direction. That's the engine.
The engine, okay.
Yeah, it's what's needed to, whip it up and carry those sand grains.
So, sand supply from the coast, wind as the transport. But wait, if the wind just keeps blowing, wouldn't the sand just travel on forever? What makes it stop and pile up? Is it something big?
That's the key, the third piece.
Yeah.
You need an obstacle. And it doesn't have to be big at all.
Really? Like what?
It can be anything, really.
Yeah.
A slight bump in the ground, a rock, even just some hardy little plant that manages to grow there.
Huh. So just a small thing.
Yep. And the physics here is kind of cool. When the wind hits that obstacle, the airflow gets messed up. It sort of eases off right there, loses its power just for a moment.
Then drops the sand.
Exactly. The sand it was carrying just gets dumped.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Okay, so the wind slows, releases its load, and it starts piling up against whatever stopped it. That makes sense. And, looking at the notes here, Alex mentioned he was reading up on it, researching it.
Reading up on it. Great phrasal verb, essential for talking about research.
Yeah.
And we also see how they described watching this. Zara apparently leaned back, relaxing, while Alex was taking in the whole scene.
Taking in, absorbing it all.
Yeah, really observing and understanding that huge environment. These verbs capture that learning process,
Okay, so the dune starts forming. But here's where it gets, a bit wild for me. They don't just sit there, do they? They move.
That's right. They are not static. Once that sand gets dumped and starts to build up into a mound, the migration starts.
Migration. Wow. How does that work?
Well, a dune typically has 2 distinct sides, and they define how it moves.
Right, and they look different too, don't they?
Oh, very different. You've got the gentle slope, that's the side facing the wind. The wind pushes the sand grains up this side.
Okay, the uphill side.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Then, when the sand gets to the very top, the crest, it tumbles down the other side, which is much steeper. That's called the steep drop, or sometimes the slip face.
Slip face, okay, like an avalanche in slow motion?
Sort of. It's that constant cycle. Pushed up the gentle side, cresting, then falling down the steep side. The sand keeps settling on that lee side, the sheltered side.
And that pushes the whole dune forward.
Exactly. The whole structure creeps forward. The source material mentioned that with strong winds, they can migrate several meters every single year.
Several meters? That's significant.
It really is. The dune is definitely not fixed in place. And that power, it can be kind of scary. The notes mention stories from bigger deserts where whole buildings have been literally swallowed up by dunes moving over them.
Wow. Okay. I can see why Alex found that whole migration thing a bit creepy to think about. It's this relentless natural force.
It is. And that idea of relentless environments ties into some vocabulary used in both Peru and Bolivia, doesn't it?
It does. They use the word hardy to describe these places.
Hardy. meaning tough, resilient, able to withstand difficult conditions. These are not easy environments.
No, definitely not. And that connects perfectly to a really useful B2 phrasal verb,
Oh,
put up with.
yes, put up with.
The guide in Bolivia was talking about the freezing nights up there, conditions the locals just have to put up with.
Meaning to tolerate, to endure something unpleasant. The guide was saying, they've grown used to it over time. It's just part of life there, so they endure it. Resilience again.
That really captures the reality of living in such a dynamic place. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From enduring the physical environment to enduring maybe B2 grammar, because Zara's lessons were full of these structures needed for talking about complex things.
Yes. She focused explicitly on some advanced points. We should probably slow down a bit here to make sure we nail these. Specifically, conditionals and reported speech.
Okay. Let's start with the second conditional. This is the one for hypothetical situations, right? Things that are unlikely now or in the future.
Exactly. The what-if scenarios that probably won't happen.
Yeah.
And the structure is key for B2. It's if plus simple past, comma, then would plus the base form of the verb.
If plus simple past, would plus base verb.
Yeah.
Okay. What was Zara's example?
It was about being prepared for the cold. If the temperature dropped rapidly, I would put on another layer. See? Drop simple past. Would put on would plus base verb.
Right. Unlikely, maybe, but possible. A hypothetical condition and the planned response. Could we apply that to the DUNES, say?
Sure. We could imagine something like, if the oasis ran out of water completely, the town would have to find another source.
Okay, ran out past would have to would plus base. Clear hypothetical. That seems useful for discussing risks or plans.
Definitely. And it's important, as Zara pointed out, she actually corrected herself in the notes, which is great. This is the second conditional. We're talking present or future hypotheticals.
Right. Not the third conditional, which is about past regrets. Things that definitely didn't happen. Good distinction.
Crucial one. Okay, now let's tackle reported speech or indirect speech. This is when we say what someone else said.
Ah, yes, the one that needs backshifting.
Exactly. Backshifting. That's the key term. You basically move the verb tense one step back into the past.
So if the guide originally said something in the present tense...
When you report it later, you use the past tense.
Yeah.
So the guide might say, the salt is incredibly thick.
Okay, present tense.
But when you report that later, you'd say, the guide told us that the salt was incredibly thick. It becomes was.
Right, the tense shifts back. Simple enough when you see it like that. What about feelings? If Zara said, I am exhausted.
You'd report. Zara mentioned that she was exhausted. Again, am becomes was. And notice we need those reporting verbs too.
Like Zara's head, told, explained, mentioned.
Exactly. They introduce the reported statement smoothly. Mastering this whole structure lets you share information from others really clearly.
Okay, those grammar tools definitely seem essential for retelling travel stories accurately. Let's loop back to the descriptions of these places. The salt flats in Bolivia, they were called a huge expanse, right?
Expanse. Yeah, great word. It just means a really wide, continuous, open area, perfect for that endless white salt flat.
And then the land around the salt flats, where it ends, that was described as barren.
Another powerful adjective.
Yeah.
Barren land is too poor for plants to grow. It's desolate, empty, really paints a picture of that harsh environment.
Speaking of harsh realities, there are some good idioms that came up relating to unexpected difficulties, like trying to take those perspective photos on the salt flats. It apparently looked easier on paper.
Huh. Yes, look on paper. A classic idiom. Something seems simple in theory.
But the reality is way harder. Happens all the time.
It does. And another one about reacting quickly. The guide warned about the weather changing at the drop of a hat.
Meaning instantly, right. No warning.
Precisely. You have to be ready to move fast in places like the Andes. The weather can turn just like that.
Very useful phrase. Okay, let's go back to Huacachina for one last important point about the environment there. It relates to resources. The note said the springs feeding the lagoon are actually running low.
Yeah, that's a serious issue. Running low meaning the water level is decreasing, being depleted.
And it's because of farming and tourism demands putting pressure on this unique spot.
Exactly. Which means the locals actually have to top it up.
Top it up, meaning they have to actively add water.
Yeah, refill it, replenish it, to keep the lagoon at the level it needs to be. It shows that even these incredibly hardy places often need careful human management to survive now.
That's quite poignant. But it wasn't all difficulty at the end. Zara's plan was also about enjoying it, right? To soak up the moment.
Yes, soak up the atmosphere, really absorb the experience.
And then there was the sandboarding. described as quite the buzz.
Meaning really thrilling, exciting, though Alex was understandably a bit worried about getting too covered in sand.
Huh? Who wouldn't be? Okay, so recapping. We covered the 3 must-haves for dune formation: sand, wind, obstacle. And we figured out how they migrate, why they aren't fixed in place.
And alongside that, we dug into key B2 English points. The second conditional for hypotheticals, reported speech with its backshifting, plus those useful phrases like put up with, at the drop of a hat, running low, top it up. Real language for real situations.
It really shows how understanding the why behind something like dune movement and knowing how to talk about it clearly, using the right grammar and vocabulary, go hand in hand.
Absolutely. Knowledge applied is powerful.
And we ended on that thought about Huacachina, didn't we? How even hardy environments might need help, needing to be topped up when resources are running low.
We did. Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener. Just like those springs need active effort to replenish them, what part of your own knowledge base, maybe your B2 grammar or vocabulary, or even understanding scientific concepts, what's currently running low for you and needs a bit of active replenishment?
Something to ponder. Until our next deep dive.